7 years ago, I painted this sewing desk, and it has a lot of scratches now. So I thought I could pull out the old paint and just touch it up and make this a quick refresh. Once I saw the state of the paint, I have to ask the question, can I use this? And if I can't, what am I going to do? Because I want this to be a super cheap refresh. I'm Sarah. I've been flipping furniture and have redone a few rooms in my house, but I have so many projects I want to learn how to do. I'm usually figuring things out as I go and learn from a lot of mistakes, but I'm so excited to see all these ideas I have come to life and to get to share them with you. So, welcome to my channel. A few videos ago, I painted that blue filing cabinet and did a couple videos on this. I can link them below if you want to get caught up. But this desk doesn't match that blue filing cabinet now, and it's pretty beat up, like I already said. Looking over all the scratches and such, this could use a refresh, but it's going into fall and winter right now. I don't want to do a big project. I love the idea of a fast refresh. I have the old paint for this. This should be really easy. I should be able to just touch them up, change out the hardware or something and make this super fast, super easy. Encourage someone else as you're watching this. Hey, I can do a simple touch up on some furniture I have if you're not into painting and doing over entire pieces. So I wanted to see if it would look okay if I just touch up these bad areas and not completely repaint this. I've never tried it, so I want to see what it would turn out and look like. So I thought I'd make a video on it so you could see as well, does it work? Can you just touch up the scratched up areas and it look fine, or will it look terrible? Now, even the stool, obviously it's going to need painted, but the fabric was ripped, and I've had fabric for a few years that I'm like, oh, this would be really good on the stool, and I've never done anything. So now is the time. We're going to tackle this project. It should be, I'm hoping at this point, super simple, get it done in a couple days, no big deal. I did start with cleaning because that removed actually a lot of the imperfections and junk. What looked like scuffs and scratches was actually dirt. So that made it look a little better, but those big gashes, that's not going to touch that. So after getting it all cleaned up, I always take the hardware off. These knobs I bought from Hobby Lobby, and they stuck out. One of them I couldn't get in all the way. Again, this is back when I was new to redoing furniture, so I didn't really know what I was doing as much. I did have these knobs because the goal is don't spend money. Can I use what I have and make this look better? I had these poles, and I thought I would try it and see how it looked, but after kind of stepping back, it didn't look right. So I'm already in my mind going, okay, I'm going to need to spend a little bit. I'm going to need to buy a knob or two. The knobs at the lap part area where the sewing machine is have been hitting my stomach when I sew. So I have these more rounded knobs I thought about trying. I could paint gold and see if I liked it, but they stick out the same amount. So I'm thinking at this point, the two knobs on that side are going to go. I'm going to fill the holes in and clean this up. And so now I'm putting wood filler in here, and I'm just going to patch. This is my thought, and we'll see. You can tell me at the end, would you do this? Is it worth it? I'll tell you at the end if I think it was worth doing this. Obviously, if I was going to sell a piece, I would not just touch up scratches and sell it, at least not sell it as a fully flipped piece. I would definitely let someone know what I did, because I don't want my reputation ruined of hey, I flip furniture, and actually that was a really bad job. So I touched up these areas that were all beat up with a little bit of sanding to, one, smooth it down a little bit, because I want where the paint and the wood end and stop meet each other, I want that to be smoothed out so that the paint can go on a little more smoother. So I'm not just getting a paintbrush out and just throwing some paint on this. I am doing a little bit of prep here. Here I just took wood filler and filled in the holes and let that dry, and then come back and sand it smooth. This is actually the point where I first looked at my paint. I pulled it out and I swirled around, and I heard it sloshing like a slushy, and I thought, oh, that's not good. And after I opened it, I see that it has, I don't know what you call this, but separated. It's got chunks in it that will not, it's bad. But again, this is at least 7 years old. And I was able to decipher on the side the name of it. So I figured I can go to the store and buy it again. But again, this is furniture paint, which is really good quality, but that also means that this can cost like, I don't know, $25, $28. And that is not doing this for free. So I decided to go to the paint store and get a sample. I talked to the lady. She's like, you might have a variance in color, but it should be pretty close. It is not furniture paint. The sample is not, but it is a high quality Valspar paint as far as Valspar goes. Before painting anything, I held it up to my piece to make sure I thought it looked similar, and then looked at my can and yeah, okay, I think this will be the right piece. So I started touching it up. And at first, like I thought, I will just touch up the small areas. I'm not going to put a lot of paint on this, and see if we can't get this to look good with minimal paint, minimal money. I did on this front little part go ahead and paint the whole front section because I thought you have to be smart when you're trying to skimp, if that's fair to say, of what will look okay, what can I just painted the whole front part. It was fine. The bigger scratch, I'm just touching it up. And I did one whole coat of this, like just went around every little spot, except when I got to the 2 holes that I filled in. I was like, you know what, the whole front is bad. I'm just going to paint a light. I did a very light top coat. I didn't do thick paint. I did a very light top coat, and I was realizing these darker areas that I'm painting over will take multiple layers of paint. But then as I went, I was like, oh, look, there's scuffs underneath. I should paint under here. So I did that. I'm like, oh, look, the leg has scuffs all over it. I should paint that. So, this morphed from, let me just hit a couple touch-up spots to, oh, so much of this needs painted. This is what it looks like at one coat. It looks a lot better. From far away, it's not as noticeable, but up close, you can obviously still see. Again, that's just one coat. This is going to take 2, 3, 4 coats, depending on how dark the area is. I think I went up to 3 coats on some areas. Now, when I go in with the second coat, I realize the new paint is a nice perky bright white and the old paint is dingy and dull. And you could kind of tell the difference. So I was like, you know what if I just touch up the whole drawer front? Don't take the hardware off, so just kind of stay away from it. But it'll lighten the whole piece up. And you can still see, as I'm painting here, kind of the yellowish rim around it. Here, at this point with the knobs that I took out, since I painted the whole section, you can't see it as much. But again, I was only going to touch the front. And then I looked at the top and I was like, you know what's pretty scuffed up. Let's just go ahead and throw some paint on the top. I never pulled this thing away from the wall. Who knows what the back looks like? I didn't want to get into it. Nobody sees it. So I did a light coat of paint. Again, this is not thick because I'm trying to lightly kind of blend it into what's already there. So I'm doing a very light coat of paint to do this. And I've never done this before, y'all. So we're going to find out at the end if you can do this and it works out or not. Okay, so at this point, I'm not going to film any other coats. I did about 3 to 4, I think I did 3 coats on everything, at least the dark areas. Now we're on to the stool. This fabric needs taken off. I had to very carefully pull these brads out. I think that's what those are called, because this is cardboard and it was like trying to rip. And I already have pulled it out of this once and nailed those things back in. So now I need to remove all the fabric off of the backing, so that I can fix the hole. Okay, so flipping this over, I don't know how this hole happened. I don't know what happened. But I didn't really want to find new batting and stuff. So what I ended up doing was kind of moving the fabric to kind of hide the hole and get everything back to where it should have been. And then I relaid the pieces that had the holes in them differently back onto the stool cushion, so that no one spot, because that main foam didn't have a hole, no one spot had a hole. So all 3 of the holes in each of those 3 pieces are in a different spot. So that was my solution to fix it. And then I had put the fabric right on top of this layer of batting and stuff. And I decided I had this scrap, like muslin type material. And I thought that would be a really good protective layer, because that's what I saw in other videos. Because I've refinished this once, and that was 7 years ago. And I don't think I've upholstered anything since then. Like, if you even call this upholstering. So I had to look up some videos on how to do this. And a lot of things had this like a protective fabric between the foam or filler and the actual fabric that went on. So I felt like this was a good choice to give this protective layer. I did realize with using a striped fabric that I was going to have to be careful with my lines and make sure they ended up straight. So as I'm cutting and doing my preliminary stapling on opposite sides to get the first part stationary before I went and did the corners, I made sure that those lines were straight, and I thought it looked pretty good. I was like, okay, that wasn't as hard as I made it in my mind. The corners were a challenge, and each corner I got better with it. I did the sides and then slowly worked the corners in. So I would staple a little, cut off extra, staple a little, cut off the extra, staple a little, cut off the extra. That's how I chose to do it. Because I had the stripes, I didn't want to mess with some type of folding method. I tried to make it as low profile in the corner as possible. And I think it worked out. It looked good, so I was pleased with it. Then I had to use those nail brad things to attach that cardboard backing on. And half of them were bent because of that amount of cushion on the backside. It was hard to hammer them in. I hammered one in and it bent right away. And I was like, you know what? I have a staple gun. Why don't I just staple this in and skip the nails? And that went really fast. And maybe it doesn't look as fancy, but this is the third time this has been put back on. So I think it'll be fine. And it looked good. And I held it up against the filing cabinet and I was like, yeah, these colors look great. All right, now we got to get rid of this teal in the stool, which this matched my living room when I first painted it. I had accents of teal and it was happy and fun, but it's not in my living room anymore and I don't have teal anywhere. So I, again, sanded the scuffed areas so that when painting it, which this whole thing's getting painted, there's no touch up on this. This is getting a whole nother color. It's getting the dark blue that the filing cabinet is. So I did tape up the feet so that I didn't have to be meticulous with avoiding getting paint on the brass. Sometimes I will tape. If I'm painting a room, I probably am not going to tape, but if I'm painting something small like this, I will probably go ahead and tape so I can just paint and not worry about it. This, I painted 2 coats of paint. Some areas I probably could have used getting a third coat. It could be I painted the second coat at night and the lighting was terrible, and it could be I just missed some spots, but once it dried, I wasn't worried about it. I was going to let it go. Now, if you watch my other videos, I talk about how this blue paint, gave me a heck of a time drying. Like, it would not dry because I've retinted it from what it originally was, and it has a lot of extra tint in it, and it takes forever. This was a small piece, so I took it downstairs to my basement and set it right in front of my dehumidifier, and let me tell you, this paint dried so much better. It still took a couple days, but it dried so much better. And I did that before putting the top coat on, and that way I could avoid the crackling, which I'll put the video in below of another piece that I painted with this blue, and it crackled when I put the top coat on. Anyway, learn as you go, right? This is on faux wood floors, so I'm putting these little foam pads so this can slide in and out without scratching my floors. These floors scratch so easily. I mean, look at it slide. It's so nice. Looks so good with that cushion, y'all. It looks so much better. Now, I did, because I don't know, even though I said, let's make this a free flip, I did buy a knob that I put in on the drawer top that I thought looked more vintage, more mid-century modern, and go with the handles that are in there. I don't know what I did with the original knobs. I must have thrown them out. But then I also thrifted some pictures because the wall was blank, and I have like 3 pictures hanging in my house. Not really, but I do not have hardly any pictures hanging in my house, and I thought, you know what? While I'm painting this piece, and I thought it was going to take like a day or 2, and it took me like 2 weeks to get done, let's go ahead and get some photos to hang on the wall too, so that it also looks cool, which I had to add the hanging device on this picture frame, and it's really easy. You just find the center, mark the holes, and you can just screw in without having to do pilot holes or anything. This is usually pretty simple to do. I bought this picture at the thrift store. It was a decent price. It was under $10, but it was scratched. The frame was, you could see the white foam underneath. It's not a super expensive painting or anything, but I figured I could get some different colors of black and brown paint that I had and just kind of touch it up. I asked my husband after I hung it up, I was like, can you tell I painted it? He's like, no. So it worked out just fine. So I got those hung on the wall and did a little staging with some hydrangeas I pulled out of my yard this fall. And then I had to test before we really call this done and sit down and see how nice it is to not get stabbed when sitting down to work on something. And with this done, I decided I should do a craft, and I made some pumpkins, which I have in another video. I can link that below as well. We're done at this point, but let me talk to you about how this turned out. Something got stuck on my desktop here, and I got some soap and water and rubbed it off, and it rubbed the paint off, and it's scuffing already. So this paint that I got that is not furniture paint is kind of chalky in feel. So here's what we looked like before, and it does look better now, but it's chalky feeling, and I don't think it's going to last very long. So while everything I did to this corner makes it look amazing and it's fine for personal use, I don't think this is something I would choose to do for a long-term fix. However, if I'm trying to do something quick and cheap, I think it is worth it. It looks better. Here again is what it looked like before putting any time or money into it, and here's what it looks like after. I bought a $5 jar of paint and a $4, $3 knob, and then whatever I spent at the thrift store for the pictures. So with the little bit amount of money I spent using things that I already have, it looks so much better. And I think it's worth it. Like, where this is located is the first thing you see when you walk in from my garage. So I see it all the time. And to take it from junky or beat up to this has done wonders. When I get home and walk in and see this, it makes me feel so happy. Like, I love seeing this. So even if it doesn't last for forever, for the amount of peace that it brings to have this section of my home in order and looking nice was worth it. So I would recommend doing this. If you have an area you can't spend a lot of money on, but you want to do something to make it look better and you can touch it up with some paint, do it. So thanks for watching. I have some videos I recommend for you here at the end, and I hope to see you in those other videos. Until next time.